Have you ever felt uneasy while shopping late at night? What happened next is something no one could have predicted. This story took place on a quiet evening in November at a CVS in downtown Nashville. I had just finished a long day of classes and was heading home when I realized I needed to pick up a few things from CVS. It was a cold November evening, and the streets were almost empty. I parked my car and walked into the store, the bright fluorescent lights flickering slightly as I entered. The familiar scent of cleaning supplies and shelves lined with various products greeted me. I grabbed a basket and started walking down the aisles, ticking items off my mental checklist. Toothpaste, shampoo, some snacks for a late-night study session. The store was unusually quiet, with only a couple of other shoppers milling about. As I reached for a bottle of shampoo, I noticed a man standing at the end of the aisle, staring at me intently. He was dressed in a worn leather jacket, and his eyes seemed to bore into mine. I quickly looked away, feeling a shiver run down my spine. Trying to shake off the uneasy feeling, I moved to the next aisle, hoping to finish my shopping quickly. But as I turned the corner, I saw the same man again, this time closer. He was pretending to look at some items on the shelf, but I could feel his gaze following me. My heart started to race, and I could feel the tension building up inside me. I decided to head to the checkout, not wanting to spend any more time in the store. As I walked towards the counter, I glanced back and saw the man following me, keeping a short distance. Panic started to set in. I tried to stay calm, telling myself that it was just a coincidence, that he wasn't actually following me. When I reached the checkout counter, I placed my items on the conveyor belt, trying to act normal. The cashier, a young woman with a friendly smile, greeted me and started scanning my items. I glanced around nervously, and that's when I saw him again, standing near the entrance, watching me. My hands were shaking as I handed over my credit card to pay. I just wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. The cashier handed me my bag, and I hurriedly thanked her before making my way towards the exit. The cold air hit me as I stepped outside, and I felt a momentary sense of relief. But that relief was short-lived. As I walked to my car, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw the man from the store, now only a few steps away. My heart pounded in my chest as I fumbled for my car keys, my mind racing with fear and uncertainty. I managed to unlock my car just as the man got closer. Without wasting another second, I jumped into the driver's seat and slammed the door shut. My hands were trembling so much that I almost dropped the keys as I tried to start the engine. The man was now standing right next to my car, banging on the window and yelling something I couldn't understand. Finally, the engine roared to life. I threw the car into reverse, narrowly missing him as I backed out of the parking spot. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely think straight. As I sped out of the parking lot, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw him running after my car. The streets were dark and deserted, and I felt a wave of panic wash over me. What if he followed me home? I couldn't go back to my apartment. It didn't feel safe. I needed to find somewhere crowded, somewhere with people who could help me. As I drove aimlessly through the streets of Nashville, I realized I needed to call someone. I grabbed my phone and dialed my best friend, Rachel. It rang several times before she picked up, her voice groggy from sleep. "Sarah? What's going on?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "Rachel, I think someone is following me," I blurted out, my voice shaking. "I was at CVS and this guy. He kept staring at me and now he's chasing my car." "Where are you now?" Rachel asked, suddenly fully awake. "I'm driving around downtown. I don't know what to do," I admitted, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. "Find a busy place, maybe a gas station or a 24-hour diner. I'll stay on the phone with you," Rachel suggested. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. Rachel was right. I needed to find a safe place. I spotted a brightly lit gas station up ahead and decided to pull in. The parking lot was empty, but the neon lights and the presence of an attendant inside made me feel a little safer. I parked near the entrance and stayed in the car, keeping the engine running. "I'm at a gas station," I told Rachel. "I think I'll stay here for a bit." "Good idea," she replied. "Just stay on the line with me." "Do you see him anywhere?" I scanned the area, my eyes searching for any sign of the man. But there was no one. For the first time since I left CVS, I felt a tiny bit of relief. Maybe I had lost him. As I sat in my car, talking to Rachel, I noticed the gas station attendant walking towards me. He looked to be in his 50s, with a kind face and a concerned expression. I rolled down the window slightly, still cautious. "Are you okay, miss?" he asked, his voice gentle. "There's a man. I think he was following me," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. The attendant nodded, his expression serious. "You stay right here. I'll keep an eye out. Do you want me to call the police?" I hesitated for a moment. The last thing I wanted was to make a scene, but I also knew I couldn't handle this on my own. "Yes, please," I finally said. The attendant nodded and went back inside the store. I watched him pick up the phone and start dialing, my anxiety starting to ease a little. Rachel was still on the line, her voice a steady source of comfort. "You're doing great, Sarah," she said. "Just stay there and wait for the police." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Minutes felt like hours as I waited, my eyes constantly scanning the surroundings for any sign of the man. Just when I thought I could finally breathe easy, I saw a shadow moving at the edge of the parking lot. My heart leapt into my throat as I recognized the man from CVS. He was standing under a streetlight, staring straight at me. Panic surged through me again. I locked all the doors and turned the headlights on, hoping to scare him off. "Rachel, he's here," I whispered, my voice trembling. "What? Where?" Rachel's voice was filled with alarm. "At the edge of the parking lot. He's just standing there," I said, my eyes fixed on the figure. Before Rachel could respond, I saw a police car pull into the gas station. Relief flooded over me as the officers got out and approached my car. I quickly explained what had happened, pointing towards the man who was now trying to walk away. The officers intercepted him, and I watched as they questioned him. After a few tense minutes, they put him in the back of their patrol car and came over to talk to me. "Are you okay, miss?" one of the officers asked. "I think so," I replied, still shaken. "Do you know who he is?" The officer shook his head. "We'll take him in for questioning. It's a good thing you called us. Do you need a ride home?" I glanced at my car and then back at the officer. "I think I'll be okay to drive now, but thank you." After giving my statement, I thanked the gas station attendant and got back into my car. I said goodbye to Rachel, promising to call her as soon as I got home. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over yet. The following day, I tried to put the incident behind me. I had classes to attend and assignments to complete, but the events of the previous night kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't focus on anything, and every time I saw someone wearing a leather jacket, my heart skipped a beat. During my lunch break, I decided to check the local news. Maybe there would be some information about the man who had followed me. As I scrolled through the articles, one headline caught my eye: "Suspected stalker arrested near downtown gas station." I clicked on the link and read the article, my heart pounding. The man had a history of stalking and had been released from jail only a month ago. The police were still investigating, but they believed he might have been following other women in the area as well. A cold chill ran down my spine. What if he had been watching me for longer than I realized? The thought made my skin crawl. I decided to call the police station to get more information. The officer I spoke to reassured me that they would keep me updated on the case and advised me to be cautious. That evening, I met up with Rachel to talk about everything that had happened. We sat at our favorite coffee shop, the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. "Sarah, you need to be careful," Rachel said, her eyes filled with concern. "Maybe you should stay with someone for a while, just until things settle down." "I know," I replied, sipping my coffee. "It's just so hard to believe this is happening. I never thought something like this would happen to me." Rachel reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "We'll get through this together. Just promise me you'll be careful." I nodded, trying to push the fear to the back of my mind. But no matter how hard I tried, the image of the man standing under the streetlight haunted me. A few days later, I received a call from the police. They had searched the man's belongings and found a notebook filled with detailed notes about various women he had been stalking. My name and description were among them. The officer's words sent a chill down my spine. "We're going to keep him in custody for as long as we can, but I suggest you take extra precautions," the officer advised. "Change your routine, stay in well-lit areas, and let us know if you notice anything suspicious." I thanked the officer and hung up, feeling a mix of relief and fear. At least they had him in custody, but the thought of him watching me, taking notes on my every move, was deeply unsettling. I decided to take the officer's advice and change my routine. I started carpooling with friends, staying in more populated areas, and even bought some pepper spray for added protection. One evening, as I was leaving campus with Rachel, we noticed a car that seemed to be following us. My heart raced as we turned corners and changed directions, but the car stayed on our tail. We decided to drive to the nearest police station, hoping to lose the car along the way. As we pulled into the police station parking lot, the car sped away. I reported the incident to the police, but there wasn't much they could do without more information. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger than ever. Despite the precautions I took, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every shadow, every unfamiliar face made me jump. I started having trouble sleeping, waking up at the slightest noise. My friends and family tried to comfort me, but the fear was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Weeks turned into months, and while the man remained in custody, I couldn't escape the trauma of that night. The police eventually released him, citing lack of evidence to hold him any longer. They assured me they would keep an eye on him, but it did little to ease my anxiety. I continued to live my life, but with a heightened sense of caution. I never went anywhere alone, and I always made sure someone knew where I was. The experience had changed me, leaving a permanent mark on my psyche. Even now, as I walk through the aisles of a store or drive home late at night, I can't help but look over my shoulder, half expecting to see that familiar figure standing there, watching me. The fear never fully goes away, and I know that this could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. So next time you're out running errands or walking home late at night, stay alert. You never know who might be watching.